I'm Payne-Kimbrough.
I'm Shauntavia Williams, aka Cheeks.
Welcome to C&D Beauty Studio.
Welcome.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
So
today,
professional
now. Look,
we professional.
And we talk through. How about that?
Yeah, we fancy. All right, so guys, I'm Kimbrough, and that is Shauntavia. And we are the owners of C&D Beauty Studio. And today in our beauty talks, we are talking with Mrs. Excuse me. Don't you come get me, Mr. Alvarez. Nicole Alvarez. She's a hair and makeup artist, and also currently the hair and makeup supervisor at Dallas Theater Center. Hey, Nicole.
Hi. So is it my turn?
Oh. I can never get it right.
So anyone who's been wondering how to get a foot into theater, this is a great little live stream for you guys to all watch. So we're doing this for y'all. We're doing it for the people. So I guess let me go ahead and talk about how we're going to flip a little bit, because we normally ask our guests how did they meet us or how did we cross paths. This one is a little bit different. Well, no, it's different. Okay, so I was told by another hair and makeup artist that works in the opera to apply for the Dallas Theater Center. She said, "Oh, y'all really gonna vibe." Her name is Nikki Mack. She was like, the artist's name is Nikki Mack, not Nicole Alvarez. Okay. Anyway, Nikki Mack was like, "Go over there, submit your resume. They're really cool. They're younger. They're not sticks in the mud. Da da da." And I was like, Nicole. I was like, Nikki, man, you already know. Like, I'm just over it. She's talking about, I think you will really fit in with them. They're really nice. They're young, but they know their stuff. You know, just come with it. So it took me a long time to actually send Nicole my stuff, because I was already thinking that I was going to get turned down. You know, I was just like, whatever, you know, we always hear no, so whatever. And so then I checked in with with Nikki again. And I was like, well, are they still hiring? And I think it was kind of probably a month or so. And I was like, are they still hiring? She said, yeah, she's still looking for somebody, girl. Go ahead and send it. So got the nerve, pressed the send button. Nothing happened. Why nothing happened? Because they don't check the email address that you have to send the resumes to.
Sounds about right.
Okay. So then they actually gave me Nicole's direct email. So I was then able to send her my resume directly. So then I will let Nicole pick up the story from here.
Okay. Yeah, well, got Shauntavia's resume, you know, check it out. It was just kind of like, I want to meet her. I like what I'm seeing. Let's kind of talk vibes and all that's real important to me. So met up with Shauntavia, and I felt like we just hit it off right away. She has a great work ethic. I just wanted to test it out, see how it's going. So hired Shauntavia to come work a show. What was the first show that you did, Shauntavia?
The Great Society.
Oh, Great Society. Ooh, that was a lot. I just gotten back from maternity leave, yeah. So Shauntavia came and did this crazy show for me, right as I was trying to figure out how to be a mom and a professional. And she really, stepped up and did a great job. So I just kept hiring her. She's great.
Yeah.
And then that's how, we started moving. I needed some more people for, some bigger shows. We started getting into a bigger musical, Hairspray, and I needed more people. And, Shauntavia kept, saying, well, my friend Dee Dee, check her out, So did the same thing, met up with Dee Dee, thought we vibed real well, brought her in, and then we all did Hairspray together. And yeah, ever since then, I try and get them on as many shows as possible.
The rest is history. We're her favorites.
We're her favorite. Fight me. Fight me.
Fight me. That is true. We had so much fun at the Dance Dancer. It's one thing I can say. They do stress us out at the theater, but nonetheless, we had so much fun. So there's a lot of artists that we talk to who are always like constantly DMing us or texting us or asking us like, how do they get into the theater? And we always tell them we have no clue. we don't know how we got in the theater, to be honest. So what would be your advice to them on how they could, like, what kind of education you think that they need, or do you think a lot of it is just chance?
I feel like, so much of it in the industry can be so much chance. I feel like really getting to meet people and, kind of get your foot in that way is really, really helpful. I went to school for theater, which is that was my foot in the door for theater, just because it let me meet more professionals to go and, work and stuff. But I wouldn't say that you have to have education in theater to do hair and makeup in theater. I think it's just finding the right people and just going out and meeting people, or even just contacting to see, if you can just come and what we would call shadow, where you show up and you kind of follow around for a little bit, even just contact somebody in the theater world to shadow, because I feel like so much of it is just contact and reaching out to people.
Yep. Tell us a little bit about your journey and of becoming hair and makeup supervisor. Like, what were your steps prior to getting that big jump?
Well, I first started at the theater center. Well, the first job I got was a wig supervisor job for a production of Christmas Carol. And I didn't work full time. I was still freelancing. That was my first job through DTC. I ended up landing that gig because I was working with a costume designer in town, and I was doing wigs for his productions. And the costume shop supervisor came and saw one of the musicals I worked with him and saw my work, and then hired me to come work wigs. And then at the time, the theater didn't do as many wigs as we do now. So it was kind of not every show had them. And so I would also start doing just anything I could. So I would work wardrobe, running costume changes backstage. I also, I have a degree in costume design. So I would spend a lot of time building costumes, working as a stitcher or first hand. So I just tried to just keep myself around as often as possible and just take any opportunities I could anytime they needed something, if they needed some special effects, makeup, anything. It was just making sure like, yep, I can do it. So that's I ended up then just taking care of all the wigs, doing all of that for all the runs, started getting more into the specialty makeup, then the photo shoots. Yeah, so then I was hired full time to just take care of all the hair and makeup. And then eventually that lent itself to becoming the supervisor.
Awesome. So let's see. So how has life been, just to switch gears a little bit, since the theater basically has been shut down, right? Because wasn't you and Shauntavia were on a show at the time that everything got shut down. So what was that experience like, and how is the experience now, like working from home and navigating how, just theater life, I guess?
It was just at the beginning, is that just kind of unsure, of what was happening. It was still hard to take a step back, especially since Shauntavia and we were in tech, which is really long hours, and you're kind of living at the theater. So, we were in tech, which culminated into a final dress that we ended up filming. So then I kind of took a step back. It was just kind of weird. It's kind of sad too, because people work so hard to get something like that, from the actors to the playwrights, to the crews, to the designers. So having it abruptly stop like that, was pretty sad to look around and see people, people were crying and, were upset. They had spent, months of their lives working on this project. So that was it was kind of weird. It was really surreal. The following week after we shut down the show, we were still working at the theater. So I was still working to kind of get that show together, since it's supposed to travel to the Goodman in Chicago. So I was kind of working, and then that's when they kind of shut down the theater physically for us to be there.
Yeah.
So now we've been fortunate to be one of the only theaters that all of the staff is still fully employed. Most of the theaters around the country right now have done furloughs and layoffs. A lot of theaters have shut down for a whole season. A lot of theaters aren't planning on coming back until the fall of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of unemployed artists.
Wow.
And fortunately, we're one of the only ones. It's been a really big point with the Dallas Theater Center, and especially the board at the Dallas Theater Center, to make sure that we are still working and receiving paychecks. So what we've been doing right now is working from home. So as hair and makeup, I fall under the umbrella of the costume department. So the costume department, we've been making a lot of medical masks that we've been donating to various hospitals, various homeless shelters, just any different groups that need it. We've just kind of have a long running list that we just keep making medical masks. And then a lot of the other people at the theater, while development and a lot of the admin people are still gung-ho raising money.
Yeah.
We have a bounce back fund that they've done a great job at getting money, which that helps ensure that we can keep getting paid until we can get theater back on the stage. And then it's a lot of people have been working really hard on a lot of professional development, people just working to better themselves, which in turn betters the theater. So we've been very fortunate that we've been able to stay employed.
That's awesome. I was just about to talk about ask you about the bounce back fund for the theater. So if you guys don't have the link, but if you guys want to Google it, you can Google it, or go to DallasTheaterCenter.org, right? It's .org.
Yes.
And information to donate there, because like she said, there are a lot of people who are out of work right now.
Go ahead. I have a question. So when we closed down, how they
there we go.
got the go ahead or the okay to stream the show online. Do you think that will become like a norm coming back from everything? I
know Equity, which is the actors union, is working a lot. There's a lot of requests coming from different places, but I think we're definitely looking at a big change in live theater. I think a lot of people are going to be scared to go, to go and sit. And I think it's also reducing the amount of people who can physically be in a space will make a lot of theater really hard to produce, because it costs a lot to the amount of people that you don't see that are working on it, not just people on stage, the amount of people backstage in shows. It costs a lot to produce. So I think we'll definitely see something. I could definitely see a lot more live stream. I know that even other theaters here in Dallas have been working on creating different things. I know right now, Theater 3 has been, so Christy Vela and Jeffrey Schmidt, who are the artistic directors, they've been working on a project which looks really cool. They're doing a production of The Immigrant, and they're filming the actors one at a time in front of a green screen, and they're going to piece it together. So I think we're going to see a lot of really new ways to present theater that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, I agree. So what has been the most memorable shows that you've worked on?
Oh gosh. I mean, there's a lot. I think they're memorable for different reasons. Some of them being memorable. because you never want it to happen again, you know. and some of them memorable for you know, for good reason, you know, good reasons. The ones that always stick with me, that where I have the fondest memories, are usually the ones that were just the most fun. So years ago, we did a production of The Elaborate Entrance of Chad Deity, which is a wrestling show, and they actually have a full-blown wrestling ring, and we actually had a WWE wrestler in the cast.
Cool.
And that show was so much fun because it brought different people into the theater that normally aren't theater goers, which made the audience reaction so different. And so that was a lot of fun. It was also just a really good cast of people. But Real Women Have Curves, which was recently, I had a lot of fun on that one. And Dee Dee ran that show for me. And I didn't run it, I was designing that one, but had a good crew of people, and it was just, that one meant a lot to me, being Latina. Getting, you know, it's so hard to see representation of yourself in theater, and so that was a really important thing for me, to be able to see myself and see my family and everyone on stage, and be in a room, a collective of you know, Latinx people. You know, so that was a really memorable experience for me.
Yeah, that was probably one of my favorites. That was the one where like everybody in the cast was super nice and just like really touching. From the designers, were like really into putting the costumes together, and the thoughts you put in the wigs, and just, it was probably one of the best shows that I worked. Honestly, that was a really great production. What was the weirdest request that you've ever received from a producer or other designer when putting a show together?
I don't know. I feel like theater just lends itself to odd, weird things. So I think I'm probably at the point now where nothing throws me. You know, I'm just so used to everything. Oh gosh, trying to see if I can think of. I don't know. I think it's not even necessarily that it's weird. It's just sometimes there's requests that people want to happen with wigs that you're a little like, wow, this isn't magic.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's still hair and there's still people doing the hair. Yeah. You know, so I feel like sometimes having these requests of well, we want audience members to be, you know, a foot away from the actors, and we need it to look like they shaved their head, but there's only 5 minutes to get this person from long hair to a shaved head look. But, you know, it's things like that you really have to work and kind of start thinking outside the box of how can you still tell a story if you don't have all the same, you know, just everything that you would need, like in film, or where you could take a longer break.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think we should shift gears to, great. We love the Dallas Theater Center. But a part of being a supervisor in hair and makeup, you're also a great designer, and may not get to design as much as you probably would like to, but we know that you are a great designer. Are you looking currently, are you doing any independent projects for yourself as far as wig designing go?
I'm currently not working on any new wig designs. I have some, you know, like all of us, have some weddings lined up for the summer, you know, some different things like that. I think right now, the biggest thing for me is because I'm usually so busy at the theater center, I'm trying to attempt to take this time to actually be better about promoting myself. Because I'm not very good at that. So as you can see, I find a lot of ring light. Yeah. And I'm trying to take the time now to kind of figure out how to work Instagram better, to be more, you know, because Nicole makes wigs and things on Instagram. I currently not that many posts, but we're gonna get there. So I'd say that's the biggest thing that I've been trying to work on, is trying to be better about putting myself out there and promoting myself.
So what is the main difference for people who don't know? What's the difference between being a supervisor and a designer?
So to be so the supervisor position, if you kind of if you were to look at it as a tiered hierarchy, which I'm personally not a big fan of thinking of things as hierarchy, but just for the visual, you have like a designer, and then the supervisor, and then the hair and makeup technicians, who are the ones that run the show. So the supervisor works with the designer to help reach and achieve what they need for the show. So that includes a lot more of the paperwork, figuring out logistical things. There's a lot of stuff that happens in theater with figuring out how the quick changes work, locations of quick changes, dealing with all the budgets. So I take care of a lot of budget numbers, and then a lot of purchasing, and then overseeing all the shows. So then it's also from then when the designer leaves, then it's also my job to oversee hair and makeup technicians to make sure that the show is still up to their par and is still relaying the vision that they have. A lot of the designer work, if you have a hair and makeup supervisor, some design jobs it's just you don't have all of that. Yeah. But if you have everything listed, then the designer gets to go in and essentially do that. They get to design. They get to say, this character should have, this character's hair will be this texture, will be this, get the stuff to help build, relay info to help the hair and makeup supervisor build. But they get to do more of the designing. They don't have to think so much of the logistical. They don't have to think of the budgets. They just have someone telling them, hey, you got to stop spending some money, and we need to change this because of this. So I'd say that's the biggest difference, logistical versus artistic.
So, I just lost my point.
Bring it back.
I forgot. I lost it. It has something to do with that, and then I forgot. Y'all, I'm sorry.
Brain fart. It happened.
I know, brain fart in the middle of the show.
So I have a follow-up question. I guess that's kind of related to that. People always ask us, like, how, or they ask me, I know for sure, like how to describe how it is to work a show. And I don't think I have the right words because I don't think people realize how tough, I guess is the best word I could use right now, that it can be working a show. How would you describe how it is to work? Let's after the design part is done and now we're getting to right before it's time to get close to opening and the opening happen. Like, how would you describe to someone like who actually was like, I want to work in theater, and we're all like, I don't know if you can do it. There's a reason for that. Explain. Explain to the people.
So working shows in theater, I would say it's like running a marathon 8 times a week. And it can be a lot, especially because once a show starts, excuse me, one of my cats, sorry.
Oh, I thought it was wrong.
Once the show starts, everything is at that point. It's like fine-tuned choreography, even for everyone backstage, because you'll be having, multiple people having quick changes at multiple times, and maybe it's a 20-second quick change for everything, or a 30-second. And then at the same time, while that's happening, you have people running around changing scenery and people running around fixing microphones. So it's very important that you are always in the same spot at the exact same time, because there's a good chance you can get hit with somebody. Someone might need to, run. There's scenery everywhere. It can be a lot. But then once the show starts, there's no stopping. There's no, oh, you know what? I didn't go to the bathroom before the show started. Let me just sneak that in, because once it goes, it goes. It's like, just like watching a movie. It's just you aren't saying all the back things. The movie doesn't stop, even though, if they do and they film, but and the thing. So the play doesn't stop, and all that stuff is happening, and you can't just get up and go. It's also there's a lot of personalities in theater. You know, you have productions where, you know, it's, you know, you can easily do something where, you know, if it's a cast of, you know, 20 something people, and then maybe your crew, you know, is like 30 people, and you have all these people in very tight vicinities, you know, so it's a lot of different personalities, really making sure you're getting along. There's also a lot of, it's really important to have a very positive attitude at all times, which, let's be real, doing that for 6 days a week, because you only get 1 day off, 6 days a week can be a little exhausting. So it's making sure you really work for your own mental health. But yeah, I'd say I feel like it's like running a marathon. You know, there's a lot of mental, you know, preparation that goes into every production. And then it's just, you just go. And it'll be, once you start from pre-show, and then for post-show, which is pre-show is the work you do prior to the show, post-show is the work after the show, you know, you can easily hit, you know, 6 hours. And that's for each production. So it's like a 6-hour go with no stop.
Yeah, it's lots of very long hours, especially during tech. So I don't know how to explain it, but that's the best way I've heard to explain it. It's like running a marathon every day. So
in the dark. In the dark.
Yeah, with the flashlight in your mouth. Yes.
With the flashlight in your mouth.
Yes.
Yes, for sure. I mean, don't forget something and then all of a sudden you become a sprinter. Like you run in the
now that's the rough one.
Down the stairs.
Wait, do you think you're good? And then you get up and you realize you forgot something downstairs, but you need, that's that sprint down all those stairs. Especially because, as Didi and Shauntavia can tell you, at the theater, you know, all the dressing rooms are downstairs, the theater space is upstairs, and then even 2 more levels down is another set of dressing rooms. Yeah. So we have 4 different floors for a single production that is all over the place.
All over the place. You are absolutely right. So we know that we're going to shift personal. We know that you've been dealing with a lot personally. I mean, not just in the industry, so because of course there's a lot going on with being out of work, but also.
Sorry, I know.
Listen, this is real life and a real life. Every life, something. If it's not a child coming across it, you know, someone's calling, something's not working. It's just always something. It's always something.
Living in color.
Yeah.
No edit.
But as I was saying, we know that you've been doing a lot in the industry, for sure wise, and we kind of touched on not having a lot of representation in the industry. This is something that Shauntavia and I are going to have a separate live about, but we still want to kind of touch on it because, like, for me too as well, Real Women was a great production because it was good to see some representation happening right before my eyes, and how everyone a part of the production was very appreciative of it, but also felt like it was overdue, so to speak. Yeah. And we're not talking specifically for this theater, it's everywhere. Yes. What have you, I would say personally, what was your personal experience as far as the imbalance you see in the industry? Have you had that in other places that you've traveled? Because I know that you've traveled a couple times, and I know you probably heard experiences from other people. But what have you experienced yourself as far as that goes?
I would say it's very common for me to be in a room and I'm the only Latina there. I'm the only non-white, given I'm very white passing. But to be the only non-white person in the room, and that's actually pretty standard. And I'd say the thing about the theater industry versus some of the other ones that really needs to be worked on and is I think a big problem is I think a lot of theater artists and the people who work in theater have this idea that because they work in the arts, which is, accepting and a much more liberal and really open, they think they don't have these problems, and therefore they're blind to what's happening in front of them or they think that a microaggression that they may be having towards somebody isn't one because they aren't, they're not racist. They don't have, we work in theater. We're accepting. So I'd say that that's one of the biggest hurdles to deal with, is trying to figure out how to get around these microaggressions, how to exist in a space that is not meant for you. I'd say is probably is one of the hardest ones, because there is then a lot of, just putting on an act, making sure. So yeah, I would say it's a pretty common thing. I think it's just different because people are so open and liberal and they think it can't be them.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
One thing that I've definitely appreciated about Nicole is that working with her, she definitely fights for the correct representation of that person. Mm-hmm. So what I mean by that is that I've worked in other places and they'll put a wig on a Black woman and it's supposed to be gray hair or an old woman, and it was a blonde wig, just a blonde straight wig. And I'm just like, but never in life, especially in that time period, would this woman have had this silky straight blonde too small wig. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, I mean, we took a picture of it. It was sad.
It was terrible.
A lot of times people in that department, I know that I was brought on because I was referred by someone who was a veteran, but also some shows I felt like I was there because, we got a singer that has long dreads and we're not even going to figure out how to fit that under a wig. Let's get her to do it. We need some turbans tied. Oh, go get the Black girl.
Ooh, how many times will be the turban tired? Jesus.
Tie the turban. You get what I'm saying? Like, what?
Yeah.
And then before Dee Dee, if it wasn't another veteran that we know of, it was just me before Dee Dee came in. So I would walk in and we definitely the only Black woman, and then always trying to make sure I don't come across too attitude or what they try to say. Yeah. I call it passion, but whatever. So I've always appreciated, definitely you putting me on shows with various designers, especially when it's a Black woman or, whatever. I've enjoyed having those opportunities, working with those different designers and just seeing it, that it is possible.
Yep, I totally agree. I feel like I felt safe in the space every time that we worked in the club. I feel like she's always like an advocate for all people. I mean, and animals. She loves all the fur babies.
The one-legged chicken and the one-eyed cat.
She's gonna pick up the animals, guys. Like that's her jam. But I felt very safe in the space anytime we've ever worked with you, because I feel like very empathetic to people's feelings and how they may feel some type of way. I do agree too as well that I feel like sometimes, especially in a place like theater or even just in the hair and makeup industry period, that I feel like because you're around like-minded people, and by that I mean like in the theater, because again, everybody is artsy, so everyone feels very safe in that community, and kind of have blinders on the fact that when you remove yourself out of this atmosphere, that real life stuff is actually happening, and so it actually shocks me sometimes to see some people who do get it, but others who just completely fall flat. And then just in the hair and makeup industry in a whole, I think that people, because again, it goes to what you're achieving, because Shauntavia and I have been in all the different areas of hair and makeup. We've witnessed and seen different things. We know that there's more than being behind the chair, or more than being just at the theater, or being more than just being a commercial. So we see that in all these spaces, if we're the only people of color, and I kind of hate that word, but that's the best way to describe it. Person of color there is just like, okay, I know that we're not making this up. This is real life, but because you're surrounded by the people who look like you all the time, when an infiltrator, which is what we feel like we are, comes in, then it's like, wait, no, there's someone here representing you. It's like, yeah, I am that someone, but where is that someone before me? You know, how do you think that a shift could happen? Like, what do you think could be a solution for that?
I think so much of it has to do with how we set people up for the industry. Because a big part of it is so many people don't know that these are jobs, you know, so many people don't know that this stuff exists. And I feel like a big thing too, is it needs to, not only do we need to set people up to just know that there's options, you know, so whether that's getting more hands-on with different communities and getting hands-on with different, you know, high schools and getting more, you know, things like that built in. I think another part too is I think it's really retraining a lot of people's minds when it comes to hiring practices, because so many people, you know, I hear all the time, you know, someone will say like, well, this person is the one who had the better resume. And it's so hard trying to explain to a person that, well, this person, of course, is going to have the better resume. They're a middle-class white person who was privileged enough to get to go to a school, and nobody begrudges them that. Yeah. But then it means that a POC who, you know, didn't have as much access to different schoolings or different scholarships or things like that, is now not going to be looked at because maybe their education isn't as much, or maybe they don't have as much internships because they may have not been, like, as for me, I didn't have any internships to be able to say on my resume because I couldn't work for free. You know, I had to
bills to pay.
Need to pay the bills. So I think it's like a combo. We need to retrain people to stop looking at resumes and stop looking at, you know, well, only these theater schools are the good ones, and only, you know, how could this person work in theater? They've never even done a show in theater. And I think it's more about going, no, there are things that can be taught. I can teach somebody what stage right and what stage left is, and I can teach somebody how to do this stuff. It's about looking at skill sets and acknowledging what you can use that someone already exists, you know, that someone already has, what skill sets could be useful and lend themselves towards something, that it's not just about the education as we see it.
I think people fail to realize that sometimes people who are the most educated on paper are hard to train. They're not adaptable. And when you're working in an industry where everything is fast paced and
all the time,
you have to rely on instinct. And education can't teach a person instinct. I mean, I didn't know a lot about theater. Pretty much I had just learned the little I learned about theater right before I started working in theater. And we learned more in one show working with you than we did working 2 years or whatever, a year and a half prior in a very structured environment from the elite. I'm going to keep using quotes. This is going to be a meme that Dee was using quotes, but from the elite of the elite, I didn't learn jack from you, but that the people in this area have attitudes. The people in this area think they're better than, you know, and then I come over here and I learn a lot from you in one show and was like, this is super hard, but I want to come back here. You know, because I'm learning hands-on training, and you can learn as much as you can from school, but everyone knows that experience is the teacher. So if you're looking at just a resume and just looking at education, you're already failing anyway. I feel like, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true. I think the same thing. Like I was saying, just being able to work with Nicole and to meet all the different designers from different places, you know, throughout the United States. And then also, I'm not going to discredit the other side.
Yeah.
But, you know, having I really enjoyed the road shows. You know, I enjoyed those people who came in from different states, and I was able to learn from those supervisors a good amount, but still never as hands-on as DTC. And I think that's because it wasn't union, you know? So it's like a plus and a minus side. Minus when you work for a union, and that's a whole nother show for a different day. We've experienced both sides. But yeah, the Dallas Theater Center is gonna work you. Like, you're gonna be sweating or come in there trying to be cute, wear all black pajamas, all put your hair back in the bun, and let's go. You know what I'm saying? Because ain't nobody worrying about you. No way. They just want to make sure that everyone makes it to their space on time.
You're going to have to bring your eyebrows with you and put them on later.
Bring them later. Bring it later. Like, come on. The UCC is the only place you can go around wearing a blow-up dinosaur and people think that you're okay.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned before about how, when you first, when Shauntavia first came, having to navigate how it was to, work-life balance, how to be a mommy and working. It's one thing being a mom and working, but it's a different thing to be a mom and working in the theater. The amount of hours is almost impossible. So how do you feel now? Because Roman is what, two? Right?
Yeah.
2. So how do you feel now, 2 years later?
Is that it? Is that all the time it's been? I'm thinking we've been doing this for like 5 years.
I know, right?
I couldn't even get the question out. I couldn't even get the question out. 2 years, that's it. But 2 years later, how do you feel that you've been able to navigate it? That work-life balance.
I think it's still very much a work in progress. Everything, anytime you do something new, there's always a new challenge. And each time I'd say, with each developmental stage for him, it's like relearning a whole new thing. I can get my groove with one aspect, and then suddenly it's going to change because now we have a whole new set of, attitude or instinct or anything. I do feel a lot more, let's say, I'm trying to think of the word. I can't think of the word. I feel a lot more positive and feel more sure of myself in it now, but there's still definite challenges. I feel, especially, I think the hardest part for me in the beginning was in theater, there aren't a lot of people with kids comparatively to other industries. There are not as many parents. And so there just aren't as many people who are understanding, and not that they're not accepting or willing, but they haven't lived, they don't have the experience themselves. So that can make certain things kind of difficult because it is long hours. It's like Dee was saying, a tech week, which is when the week we're putting up a show where we work through all the technical elements, get all the actors, do all the costumes, add everything in before we ever get to audience. A tech week for me can easily be anywhere from like 80 to 100 hours in a week. So it's really making sure you have good support. I'd say for me, a big one is my parents live about an hour and a half away. So they're really supportive in that they'll take my son for a few days at a time. And so he'll stay with them as I just kind of try to keep everything going with my husband working and stuff. But I think it's a lot more comfortable now. It's kind of getting into the groove. Now this COVID stuff, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I'd say I feel a lot more confident, comfortable in, being a mom and working my career, but it's still always learning.
Absolutely. So after everything is like lifted, I mean, I don't know when or if or how. I think at this point, people don't care. They're just leaving the house. They're sick of it. But at the time that the world like truly opens up, like what do you see is next for you? I don't even really know at this point. Like I said, I'm trying to work on promoting myself more. Theater is obviously going to be a very slow return, even once everything's open because of audience sizes. So I think at this point, it's just kind of navigating just where I'm at in the world with theater. Like, is it still
is it still, how is it going to exist now? You know, essentially it's like going into a new world, which then also lends itself to me trying to be better about marketing myself. Because I think that's one of the things is I would really like to start, well, not start, but I just would like to pick up more. Since I have the time now, I would love to be able to just pick up more work that is where it's just me. I love the collaborative work of theater, but being able to, you know, do these weddings or photo shoots or, you know, ventilating projects or, you know, just all the building I like to do and the creative side. I would love to just start getting to do more projects like that. I've been working some stuff with some photography friends of mine, you know, trying to work together how we get some, you know, photo shoots and just kind of letting my vision have the chance to kind of speak overall. That, you know, I would love to be able to do more art directing of my own stuff. So I can kind of, you know, have a visual for the voice I have.
I agree. I mean, you can get into teaching, get teach a couple of classes.
Ventilating classes.
I could do that.
Yes, because your handmade caps, everything. Your ventilating is like, because she has 20/20 vision, okay?
She has
girl, it's over 20/20.
She got evil eyes.
She has laser eyes. Like, I don't know how she gets.
And so her work is like perfect. Like, it's no reason why Nicole shouldn't be like heading big Broadway shows or something. Like, Nicole
just took off, guys. Sorry.
She's a problem solver. No matter what people come up with, she will whip up something with a piece of paper and some cotton balls, and you just be like, "Girl, what you do? What is that?"
It's done.
I made a whole airplane with a piece of paper and a cotton. Like, no.
And it's always like, all you need to do is bye. You're like,
never, no.
And I thought I was the queen of bootleg until I met Nicole, and I was just like, I am nothing now. She can put anything together. Like, it doesn't matter what you say, how you want it. She's gonna find a solution. Y'all see
stuff I like.
This thing right here. I thought someone was trying to come through it, and I was about to take off. I was just like,
the scaring you.
I was like, oh, okay. I have to catch myself. I was about to leave y'all in the live. All right. So I think that's all the questions we had. If anybody wants to book Nicole, like, she has time, kind of. She can make time. How about that? Not that she don't have time, but she can make time if y'all want a wig made, if y'all need hair and makeup for your wedding or for your special project. She is good at everything. I mean, not just regular makeup, but do like special effects. She can do elaborate painting of the face. I mean, anything. Like, that's how you know Nicole Alvarez.
She can knit, crochet, staple gun.
And she is rich. We've already decided she can want.
I also wanted to bring some focus on Nicole has a GoFundMe out right now.
Yes.
So we want to throw that up.
We do.
Hopefully we're not getting too personal, but
no,
her dad was involved in a motorcycle accident, and her family has really had to pull together throughout, because all this started in the midst of COVID, you know. And so if anyone would like to give, we would appreciate for you guys to just send, you know, what you can, and if you can't, share to others who may be able to.
There you go.
Just to help them out right now.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, that really means a lot. Thank you.
We will throw this link up here and also put it in the post as well as on our Instagram page. But yes, please, guys, if you can donate, you can go to you can actually go to her Facebook page to find the post about her dad, which will also have the link if you want an actual clickable link. But it is the show support for Bobby motorcycle accident, right? Is what the
yes, yeah,
correct. Awesome. Well, we appreciate your time. We thank you so much for talking with us.
Thanks for having me.
We're excited. We miss you so much. I can't wait to get open back up. I mean, we don't have to work a show, so when it opens back up, we can all meet for coffee.
Yeah.
Yes, please, please.
Awesome. Well, guys, this is it for our beauty talks today. Shauntavia and I will be back. I forgot the day. Thursday.
Tuesday.
Sorry, next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Sounds like that's not on the calendar.
Look, I can't read. Okay, next Tuesday we will be back, but next Thursday, I believe, is when we're going to go live to discuss just how colorism is in the industry. That's a topic that we've been thinking about, and it's time to speak out. So we hope everyone joins us next week on Tuesday, but definitely on Thursday. We would love for you guys to join the conversation. Again, you guys can donate to Nicole's dad's GoFundMe, as well as if you would like to book her, it is Nicole Alvarez, HMUA@gmail.com. All right. See y'all soon. Bye.
Bye.